sure we're in focus. Are we on the air now? Well, all right. Welcome back to another episode of the Faces of ROCOR, blah, 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 blah. One of the strangest shows on the internet right now. You know all of that already. I don't have time to make this fancy. I don't even have time to clean up the office because in a few hours my son has to have a small medical procedure. It's nothing serious, but it's the first time he's going under anesthesia, so naturally it's extremely nerve-wracking for my wife and I. But I'm sitting here trying to have faith, right? Faith in action, something we talk about all the time. Similar to living the liturgy after the liturgy. You'll notice that's a reoccurring theme all of a sudden on the Fund for Assistance. It'll make sense. I can't tell the story from here. You see, I've been so nervous and anxious. I'm scared out of my mind, honestly. And I'm scrolling through Facebook, and then I see a picture of a man, a monk. And suddenly, I start to smile. Things get easier. Because when I look at this monk, well, this man is faith in action. But I want to tell you a story about how I first met this man. And in order to do that, we need to go for a little walk right now. I'm trying to think, where was it? I was driving my friend home after vigil. He lives a few miles from the church. And as I'm driving back, I see this group of parishioners walking exactly where I'm walking right now, down the highway. And this happens all the time. There's nothing strange. I mean, there's a large group of Russians and Ukrainians that live in an apartment complex not far from the Cathedral. But walking right in the middle of them was this monk, this guy in a cassock. And I'm staring. I'm like, what's going on? Like, who is this guy? I mean, it's a normal vigil, and you know, I don't remember seeing him in church. And all of a sudden, there's just this guy walking with them in a cassock, and it happened right here. Okay. So there I am. I'm coming down this way, and there he is, this guy. And I'll never forget that moment as long as I live. Now, we're going to go back to the studio right now because I needed to make a point. And I'm going to tell you who that guy is and why this is such an awesome, awesome story. And before I get... Oh, there's the police coming. All right, we're going to wrap this up right now. We'll continue the story in the studio. This is awesome. I want to just take a moment to thank someone. SERAPHIM HANISCH. He's a guy who lives in Moscow. And right now, he's editing some of these sound files. He's our audio engineer. This man, without him, there would be no Faces of ROCOR. And he's the type of guy where an hour ago, right? Actually a little more, but yeah, 12 o'clock or so, midnight, he messages me and I say, you know, we got a project. Are you ready to go? Ready to go every time. I have bothered this man countless times at the weirdest hours of the night. And no matter what, he is always there to respond. There was one time when he needed to edit a sound file. If you remember, when we played St. John's voice in an earlier episode, and he was flying home from Moscow to Colorado. And he's in the airport somewhere. I don't even know what country this is in. And he's sitting there editing the sound file after not having slept for 30-something hours. So thank you so much. And SERAPHIM is just one of the amazing volunteers that help us with the show. And I think we should start talking about them a little more often. But before we start rambling on and on and on, let's get back to this guy. Who is this guy? After I saw him on the highway, well, I go to liturgy the next day. And I forgot about him. And after liturgy, I go and ring the bells. I'm the bell ringer there at the cathedral. And as I'm coming down the stairs, I see him. I see this monk. And he gives me, not like a nod, he has this way of looking at you. He has this twinkle in his eye, kind of like, good job, without having to say anything. And then he just like vanished into the crowd. There was a whole group of people leaving the church at that time. And that was it. And then the next Saturday night, there he is again. And something was off about this guy, right? Something didn't make sense because, well, first off, I felt like he was a priest. Every time I kind of came near him, I had this urge to get a blessing. You know what I'm talking about? You just have this gut feeling, right? You see someone in a cassock and there's no cross and you're not sure, but you're like, but there wasn't a cross, and I didn't come up to him. He just stood in the back corner of the church, all the way in the back. And then when he got anointed with the oil, he kissed the priest's hand. Huh. He's definitely not a priest. Okay, next weekend, same thing. Except this time, something changed. My grandfather hands him the brush. And this is something that priests do to other priests. And he anoints himself, hands the brush back, and my grandfather goes to kiss his hand, and he kisses my grandfather's hand. Sorry. Man, so much coffee on the show. We should rename this to like Coffee with Brother Peter. Wonder if anyone's ever thought of that before. Anyway. So, I can't figure out who this guy is. Priest, not a priest, but at this point, I mean, they're kissing each other's hands. This is a priest. And so, I muster up all my courage. I decide I'm going to go in for the blessing. And when I go in, I get a blessing. He looks at me and reaches in his pocket and takes out a small little paper icon and hands it to me. He doesn't say anything. He just smiles at me with this twinkle in his eye. And I walked away. Anyway, I'm going to fast forward a few years. 2015, July. There I am, Sunday morning. It was like one of the hottest days of the decade. And I just got my dog, Grizzly. He was a little puppy. And there I am before liturgy, taking my little puppy for a walk. And he's doing his business, and all of a sudden, a van pulls up. And out of the van comes this guy. And so my dog runs up and jumps on this guy. In fact, this happened twice that day. You might have even seen this picture around before. Anyway, let's fast forward another few years. Sorry. Kiev, 2017. I just got off the train ride from hell. I took a train from Odessa to Kiev. If you've ever taken an overnight train from Odessa to Kiev, anyway, I did not sleep. I saw things that, oof. Oof. If you've ever seen a bathroom line on a train from Odessa to Kiev, anyway, I look like I got hit by a bus. But I had to buy something at the Kiev Caves Lavra. I was staying with some friends in Kiev. And I'm walking down the street, and I swear I was so tired, so shell-shocked. This was the end of like a 10-day trip. I don't even know what hit me. And then all of a sudden, I hear it. America! 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 I turn around, and there's this row of black limousines, or sedans. And this was the meeting of the Council of Bishops of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. And the primate, Metropolitan Onufry, is yelling at me, America! This guy. So there I was. He jumps out of the car, and he comes over to give me a hug. Now, if you know Vladika Onufry, if you've ever met him, you realize that that's nothing special. I am nothing special, because he does that literally to everyone. That's what makes him so special. And so there's people standing around, and he's talking to me, and he's got this thing where he always wants to talk to you in English because he's practicing his English. And I mean, look at this picture. I looked like I got hit by a bus. And slowly but surely, he stopped all the traffic. So all the bishops are kind of blocked, and they're waiting, and they're trying to think, who is this guy talking to? It was the most uncomfortable and yet amazing moment of my entire life. We hugged. He said, say hello to everyone. And then he kept going. And, well, today is that guy's, by that guy, I mean His Beatitude, Metropolitan Onufry of Kiev and all Ukraine. Today is his name's day. And I really, really wanted to share that story, because in a very difficult time in my life, like tonight, when I think of men like Vladika Onufry, men who put their faith into action, who live the liturgy every single day, well, first off, it makes it easier to smile. And then it makes it easier to believe in God. That's all I can say. Happy Names Day, Vladika Onufry. Thank you so much for watching this show. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook. God bless you, and have a great night, well, morning, whatever it is. Take care.
Ибо